Welcome, everyone. This is the second general meeting for IEEE here at Cal Poly Pomona. We hope you have had a great month back at school. Can't believe it's already 4 weeks in. What I will ask is for officers, if you guys can be on the lookout for chat and all that kind of stuff. So thank you. We'll be moving on now. So what we'll be talking about today, we're going to be going over just a quick recap of some of the workshops that will be coming up, as well as the MentorMentee program that we mentioned at the first general meeting. We'll be going a little bit more in depth into that, as well as something that we will like to introduce this year, which is a member induction night. You'll learn more about that on the slide as we go. And we will also cover the career fairs that are coming up, as well as like one of the other workshops that we have later this week. And then we'll get right into the internship panel. So let's get started. So as we discussed in our workshop webinar or seminar, the first two workshops that we'll be having are MATLAB and Simulink, and that will be on Thursday, October 1st from 11:30 to 1 p.m. We want to be able to have as much time as we can to go over some things. It'll be a basic workshop where you'll learn where to download it, how to get it, and like some of the basic functions that we have for it. Next up will be our OrCAD PSpice. For those of you that don't know, PSpice is a circuit designer as well as a simulator, and that's one of the programs that you'll be using as a first year and all throughout your electrical or computer engineering career. For the workshop for that will be on Thursday, October 15th from 11:30 and 1 p.m. There's kind of a theme going. We're trying to do every other Thursday starting in October, and they'll go from 11:30 to 1 just so that we can get as much time with them. Next up is our mentor and mentee program. So, Sarah, would you like to talk about this one?
So pretty much this year, we are introducing a new mentor-mentee program. It's kind of similar to what you will see as like a big little system in a sorority or a fraternity, but this is more of like a way for the senior members or the upperclassmen of ECE or IEEE to help guide new transfer students and new freshmen into the entire ECE department, especially since right now we are virtual. It's kind of difficult for people to connect with each other. We as officers felt like this program would be very beneficial for members to have kind of like a support system. If you apply to be a mentor or a mentee, this is a good way for you guys to kind of make new friends and also be able to help each other out, because why not create a supportive environment here within IEEE? We will be having applications out soon. Actually, we'll be releasing them starting Wednesday, and to be a part of this, we do need you to be a dues paid member. So that's why for our deadline to be able to apply for this will be the same day that we will be kind of closing off, dues paid membership to be part of our induction night.
Yeah, thank you. There's a bit of a typo that says Friday, October 1st. That should be Friday, October 2nd. So the applications will open tomorrow, Wednesday, September 16th, and they will close on Friday, October 1st, or October 2nd, my bad. But keep in mind, as Sarah said, you do have to be a dues paid member, so we will be checking that. But we will be posting the forum on our Discord, so make sure to join us there. We will have a link at the end of the slides. Another thing is that we are having a member induction night. So for those of you that have become a member between August 20th, so when classes started, until October 2nd, the same Friday that the mentor-mentee program is due, you will be a part of the member induction night. So this will be on Saturday, October 10th. So write that down on your calendars. Be sure that you have it open. It will be in the evening. As with all things, this will be on Zoom, but we'll try our best to, make it as interactive as we can. But yeah, we'll be going more into depth on what it will entail as we get closer to it. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. So again, if you register as a member between today and October 2nd, you will be eligible to be a part of the member induction night. It's just a nice way to celebrate and recognize like all the incoming members and old members that have been a part of us for the past few years as well. And that brings us to career fairs. I mentioned this in the first general meeting, but I'll mention this again. Next week, the Career Center will be having the career fairs. So there are two of them. The first one is the General Career Fair, which covers all departments. There's a lot of different companies that come in and they look for recruits, and they are potentially hiring for the summer sessions. First one will be on Thursday, September 24th from 10:30 to 2:30 p.m. And the second one, which is the which is the engineering or high-tech career fair, that is more geared towards STEM, so engineering, science, mathematics, all that good stuff. That will be on Friday, September 25th from 10:30 to 2:30 p.m., same as the one from yesterday. In order to register, though, you have to go on Handshake and you have to register on there. And if you want to have like group sessions or one-on-one meetings with the companies that are there, you do have to register individually with them. You can follow the instructions on the Handshake website. Again, we'll be posting these slides on our Google Drive so that you can see it. All of these are linked so you can follow it there. One of the things that we're also doing apart from this internship panel is that we are having a interview and resume workshop. That will be this Friday, September 18th. We'll be having it from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It'll be broken up into 2 sessions. The first session will be focused on interviewing, where we plan to put you guys into breakout rooms so you can have one-on-one sessions with each other and get some practice. And then the second session will be resume intensive. So you'll be looking over resumes. We'll put you into a group breakouts, and you guys can cross-check each other's resumes if you have them, or we can probably help you build that up. We will be joined by Alexis Tai. She is the engineering representative for the Career Center. So that will all be done on Friday. We'll be sending out a link to the Zoom link tomorrow, hopefully, so that you guys can register so that we get a good idea as to how many people are coming and so that we can get those breakout rooms ready, yeah? So if you want to come in, that'll be from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can come in at any time. And that's pretty much it for the general meeting for today. And now we'll be having our internship panel. I'd like to introduce the 4 people, I believe, that are here to represent their companies and talk about their experiences. So from L3 Harris, I'll be introducing Christine Duong. Christine, if you could unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christine. I worked at L3 Harris Technologies over the summer, which is a global defense and aerospace company. And it's just basically split into 4 segments: integrated systems, space and airborne systems, communication systems, and aviation systems. And basically it's just this company that globally works on mission critical solutions.
Next up, we have from Southern California Edison, we have Elijah.
Hey guys, my name is Elijah Fernandez. I'm a 3rd-year electrical engineering major. I work at Southern California Edison as an integrated system analysis intern. We just make sure, whenever you flip that switch, that the light turns on. So that's basically our job. And a little tidbit, I guess I was last year's IEEE officer, so, make sure to get involved.
And from Rosendin, we have our very own Vice President, Sara.
Hi, my name is Sara. I am a senior in engineering. I interned at Rosendin Electric this summer, and I am an engineering intern on the commercial construction team. So I work on million-dollar projects for high-rises and commercial buildings.
Awesome. And then last but not least, we have from Northrop Grumman, Will.
Hey, everyone. As Adrian said, name's William. Sometimes go by Will or Willie, whatever you really want. I am a 5th-year double major in computer and electrical engineering. As you guys know, I interned at Northrop Grumman, which is mostly known for their global aerospace projects, the defense and security, more specifically for the Department of Defense and a lot of military products. Let's see, what I worked on specifically at Northrop Grumman would be a tool to help optimize model-based systems engineering, more specifically on the software side.
We'll get a little bit more in depth on that as we go through the questions. So the way that this will work is I have prepared some general questions that I'll ask you guys, and the company logo will come up, and then you guys get to respond. So it's in a bit of a random order, but you'll see as we go along. So the first question is, what is your company known for? What does your company do? I think some of you guys already answered some of it. If you'd like to go a little bit more in depth, that would be perfect, so that we give people a little bit more in-depth view as to what it is that some people do. So first up, Rosendin. So Sara.
All right. So my company is known to be a construction company. I specifically am a part of the engineering team that they have. which is split up into renewables and commercial design. So for me, I'm part of the commercial design team where we work on the electric systems that go on in these fancy commercial buildings, including high rises, schools. We even worked on a police facility this summer, and pretty much what is it? We are pretty much contractors that compete to secure big projects of designing buildings and making it more, I guess, more efficient, because we want to reduce the amount of like energy waste that goes into building these commercial buildings. So that's a bit more of what we do. I know there's also the renewables team where they work on developing more projects, under like creating more solar panels with existing places. That's a little bit about what they do, but I'm not too sure about precisely what they do because that's a separate team that I wasn't able to work with. But yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Next up, we got Elijah.
All right. So yeah, Southern California Edison, I'm sure most of you guys know, is it's an electric utility company, one of the nation's largest. And we do whatever it takes to keep the lights on, like I said. And I mean, we have in our service territory about 15 million customers, that we have to manage and have a safe, reliable, and efficient power grid. We are working towards California's SB 100 state mandate of obtaining 100% clean energy by the year 2045. So that's an ambitious goal that we continue to work on in every department. In my department specifically, integrated system analysis, my job is to run certain studies, short circuit duties, load flow, transient stability, just a wide variety of studies on a long-term outlook to determine whether or not the power grid is stable, efficient, just throughout the, I guess, the long term. And yeah, I guess that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you. And then we got from L3 Harris, Christine.
All right. So basically, I already explained there's 4 different segments of the company, but the section I specifically worked with was the space and airborne systems, and within it there's this extra subsection called the radar systems, and I worked specifically within that group. And so what we did there was they have different radars that sense different the different aircrafts are coming in, and what I did was basically work on fixing the communications between the two systems, such as like there's a tall tower that's sending out signals, but in order to get that signal back to or translated to the home device or local device, it kind of needs to go through this network translation. So that's basically what I did. Worked on radar systems, but there's plenty of other things that you can do there, but that was just what I specifically did.
Okay, thank you. And then last but not least, we got Will.
Yeah, so as I said before, Northrop Grumman works mostly doing aerospace and military defense. So some, notable products would be such as like the James Webb Space Telescope, the B-2 bomber, or the newer one that's going to be the B-21, and like autonomous unmanned vehicles or air vehicles specifically. Something I specifically worked on would be more on the software side for the Aurora campus, which was for Colorado. And what I did specifically was basically just automating model-based tests and basically having to do it so it's a lot more efficient compared to what you would have to do it manually and have it like watching over the whole time.
Oh, okay, cool. I think I have a section later on where we get to go a little bit more in depth on how, like what it is that you did work day to day. So we can expand on it a little bit more there.
Yeah.
All right. So then we're going on to the next question now. What brought you to them? So, Christine, how'd you get to know L3 Harris, or like what brought you to them? Was it like career fair, or you stumbled upon them on LinkedIn, that kind of stuff?
So last year was my 3rd year being at Pomona, So my aim and goal was to get an internship. So I basically just scavenged through career fairs, and they popped up on the career fair, and I just said, I want to get into the tech industry, and I just went for it.
Awesome. Good to see that you got it. And now, Sarah.
So same situation as Christine, where last year I really was focused on trying to find an internship for the summer. So as I was walking around the career fair, I noticed that Rosenden was kind of looking for engineers and project managers and all that stuff. And one thing that stood out was that they were trying to look for a lot more female engineers. Like that's one thing that they were advertising. So then I was able to talk to one of the recruiters, and they kind of explained their entire internship program, where they would fly their students out to San Jose and have a full-on week where they explain to them about what the company does and kind of train them about everything that Rosenden is. And I felt that would have been a very unique experience to have as an intern. So it got me to be more interested in wanting to apply for it, and I did. So, yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Next up, Will.
Yeah, so well, the way I got into contact with more specifically Northrop Grumman was from a club meeting. I forgot what is the computers and the computer science?
The CSS, Computer
There
Science
we go.
Society.
Yeah, CSS. So they had a question and answering for Northrop Grumman specifically, and I decided to go there just because I wanted to learn a little more specifically about the company and any other military and defense company that I was kind of looking for. And I managed to speak to some recruiters, get a little more information, and also send in my resume.
Oh, yeah. No, so Computer Science Society is another great club that we have here on campus, and they are dedicated towards computer science, as the name states. So definitely check them out if you're interested in software side stuff. And last, we have Elijah.
Yeah, what brought me to them? I guess it was like last year, actually, IEEE. Two of the former officers were Southern California Edison interns, and Jonathan Chi, I think I met him over at the club fair, like hosting it, and he was just talking about the work that he did and the company that he worked for, and I was really interested in getting into it. So I spent like a few weeks, trying to research the company. Found out that they had like two office buildings here in Innovation Village at Pomona, and I was like, wow, I should just give it a shot. So
Get to work right
yeah,
across from school.
just like the commute, not too bad. So yeah, I went ahead and tried. I looked online, see if they were hiring, and turns out they had this intern open house. So I just applied, and just went on from there.
That's great. Yeah, so one of the things is knowing people and having networking is always great, because you never know if like a friend of yours that's working in a company their company might be open. You can get a nice little recommendation here and there. All right, so on to our next question, the application process. This will basically cover like, how was the interview like? What were some questions that stood out to you? And if you had any questions, because I know normally they ask you if you have any questions at the end. Some people, they don't know what to ask. If you have any, what are some like go-to that you will go to? And then how long did it take them to get back to you? So we'll start with Will.
All right. The interview process was honestly a lot less frantic than I thought it was going to be. Mostly we went over my resume specifically, and we basically just talked a lot about what I had done and what I could have offered to the company, and some, and trying to give my better perspective of me trying to be a leader and joining all the clubs on campus and working on projects that had been on campus. Since I didn't have any experience, that was really the only thing I could talk about, and projects I'd done outside of school, which seemed to pique their interest as well. Some questions I had for them specifically that I thought that they like enjoyed, or my interview enjoyed, was me asking a lot about, I'd say, learning opportunities. I tried to basically get a better understanding of how Northrop Grumman wanted to teach their interns and how they could help us instead of more on the other side, how we can help them. And Specifically, I think he really enjoyed that because we spend a lot of time doing that, a lot of time talking about the different opportunities that Northrop Grumman does.
Mm.
And I think for how long it took, I would say less than a week. So I'd got back to about, I had my interview on, I believe it was either Monday or Tuesday, and I'd gotten the offer within Friday.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. That's a good insight.
Yeah.
All right, moving on, we got Elijah.
All right, so oh man, my interview. So yeah, so the application, online application is what I had to do first. So I applied there. Took about, I guess, maybe a week or two to get back to me. And that's when I received the email to do a webcam recording, kind of like a webcam, like a recorded video of them asking a question. And then I would record myself, about 20, 30 seconds of myself answering that question. And if you look at their main website, if you ever wanted to apply, they look for a certain way of answering their interview questions using the STAR method. If you guys are familiar, STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. You can dive deeper if you want to kind of learn more about it. So trying to practice that ahead of time really proved to be beneficial. It was rough edges, trying to do these to this interview because it's first time, and this webcam recording was difficult to get used to. But I mean, after they screened for that interview for webcams, they moved on to in-person interviews, and that's when they invited a couple applicants into their office buildings here at the Innovation Village, and gotta say that was the most stressful I've ever been. I mean, trying to get ready, just make sure that you guys know how to tie your tie and you know exactly where to go, because I was almost late for that interview, but it turns out it just went well. Again, it was these questions were situational and behavioral. They'll ask certain situations that you've been in and see how you I guess overcome those situations. So for example, one of the questions that they asked was how I dealt with a member of my team or a partner that I guess had like a set of work, and how I would divide it equally amongst myself and others. So, using the STAR method, I would talk about the situation, the task at hand. Maybe it was a lab. I think I used that as an example. Yeah. And then like the action that needed to be taken, like how we split up the work, and the result. And, the result being we finished our lab early or on time, or it was accurate and correct. So, those are the kind of questions that I was asked at Southern California Edison. And after, I think the whole application process took about like a month or two before I finally got the call, and here I am.
Great to hear. Great to hear.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, Sarah.
So for me, it was just mainly like applying online. And then from there, I was lucky enough that my friend got called for an interview first, and they were actually asking her if she knew other people who applied. And we happened to get our interviews scheduled on the same day because of that, which happened to be the day right after Christmas. So that was fun.
Interesting.
So pretty much for my interview, it was very casual in my opinion, because it started out as just like a conversation, because they went through my entire resume to see like honestly how well I know it, and if everything I state is what it is. For me, they did not ask many technical questions. Instead, they wanted to get to know who I was as a person, and they looked through my projects and my former work experience. And they wanted to get to know me based off of how well I work with people and teams, because they're really focused on how most of their projects are very team-based. So they wanted to know how well I'm at communicating with people, how well I work with others, how I view myself as efficiency and whatnot. And from there, it was about like a hour to an hour and a half interview, because it was just very much of like a conversation talking about like how the company works, but at the same time how I work and if it really like fits in. And with my interview, I did a lot of research on their company to see what their goals were as a company as a whole, so how I could apply myself into that kind of motto of theirs. And questions that I had for them is more of like networking opportunities, just because I understand like for here you learn and you grow, and what are ways where I can learn more from other people aside from just the original group that you have to be with, because they are a very family like company because they're employee owned. So they kind of like to promote saying that they enjoy like a lot of conversations and communication within the whole entire company, because they pride in working together to achieve an ultimate goal together. So they very much enjoyed that. And from there, how long it took for me to get a response from them was more of I emailed them right after or a day after my interview just to thank them for the opportunity. And from there, my supervisor who hired me, he very much enjoyed seeing that I took that kind of initiative to thank him. So he from there told me that they are actually starting to or working on talking to the HR manager and extending an offer from there. So it's really good to email them afterwards.
It's nice to be courteous, yeah, and take initiative. Yeah, there's some people like that in people. All right, thank you. And then last we have Christine.
So my interview process was, or application process was pretty like very easygoing, I would say. Basically what I did, I dropped off my resume with one of the senior software engineers at the table during the career fair. Like he asked me a really basic question about object-oriented programming. He said, what kind of relationship is a has a relationship? Pretty simple, as long as you know that's a composition. He was like, good, I'll just pass on your resume and keep it here. And so about maybe 2 weeks after career fair, I was contacted by a different senior software engineer. And it was basically mostly basic, like soft skill questions. We went through our resume. She did ask some technical questions. One of them that stuck out was that she asked about threading. And most people probably don't have that until an upper division level class. But even though like I wasn't fully sure about what it was, she said that's one of the things that you do on the job is that you get to learn these type of technologies and get more experience in it, because she also said that she didn't learn about threading until on the job. So that's something that an internship or some work experience can do for you. Some questions I had for them, they were mostly generic questions, something about work-life balance, what kind of environment, what they enjoyed working there the most. I did ask some questions the other panel members talked about. What were some of the things that that the company can offer for you? Like, is there a possibility of moving around the different segments within the company, or is it like, are you just stuck in one place, or can you get more the experience that you want to get over with the company? And for the time it took them to get back to me, I can't really say exactly, because the person who was supposed to send my application messed up my email. So it took them a while to get back to me. Because I got suddenly a phone call from the person who interviewed me and told me like, hey, like you need to apply, like accept the offer like right away or not, because today's the deadline. I was like, what offer? So it took them probably about a month later to get back to me about this, I guess. So,
but they got back to you, and
yeah.
that's what matters.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we're gonna go on to the next one. I think this one is kind of a one that a lot of people would like to know about. You know, work-life balance, or just work life. You know, how did a typical day look like for you? You know, and I know some companies don't like, you know, you need to have you have to sign like a waiver to not disclose any information. So if you're allowed, you know, what did you work on? If there were any projects, or you know, what did you do? So, Elijah.
All right, so yeah, my typical day, I really had a flexible schedule. I mean, just had to let my manager know beforehand. Um, so I woke up, you know, 9 a.m. and I was given, because of the whole COVID situation, I was working, teleworking. So I had a company issued laptop here that they gave me, company headset. And they just, you know, had those pre-installed programs that I needed for, I guess, the job. I used Power World to solve load flow problems. I had PSLF, positive sequence load flow, works the same way, just a bit old fashioned, and works with voltage stability and other studies as well. So typical workday, I spend 15 minutes or so trying to get all set up, hooking out to the corporate VPN, because they have all the files and storage I needed to access. So I needed to get there, check my emails, make sure, you know, I'm all up to date with what my manager and my team has communicated back and forth. And then I would check the schedule for today and possibly tomorrow, see if I had any meetings and if I needed to prepare any presentations, like results or anything that needs to be populated onto an Excel sheet. And I guess if I didn't have any projects or an assignment, I would contact, I didn't really have a mentor, so I would contact directly my manager if I had any work to do that he wants to assign to me. Or I would continue working on a project that I've been working on for the past couple of days or weeks, depending on what it is. So yeah, the projects, I can't really say much. I'll just try and be just general, so very sorry.
That's fine. That's fine.
But yeah, some of the projects that I worked on, depending on the time of the year, so Southern California Edison does a ATRA study, which stands for Annual Transmission Reliability Assessment. So that ATRA study is, I guess, created by the California Independent System Operator, which is the nonprofit organization that controls the grid. So they want to make sure that these studies are done by the utility companies to make sure that the grid is reliable, safe, and works. Mm-hmm. So some of the studies that I did was working on this transmission station that had some short circuit duty issues. So I would have to present some short circuit duty mitigation for the long term. So I guess I guess you can say that one of the short circuit duties were, I guess, overloaded by a certain percentage. And I would have to use either the programs given like Power World or PSLF. And basically, I guess, identify like how much percentage these circuit breakers are overloaded, or for the year 2022, during peak and off-peak loading conditions, which, these criteria and this data is given to me and input into the program. Once those are populated, I would run other studies such as power flow, see which lines are overloaded, if any, if I were to, take this line out, or if this, tower was struck by a plane, see if the grid would still work. And so those studies were done, and I would populate it onto an Excel sheet, and then I would present these to my team in a meeting. Then after, I would basically do the same kind of studies, but with a mitigation or a solution to, I guess, to solve this short circuit duty issue. So one of the ways that you can solve such an issue would be to rearrange the lines going through the station, so that power doesn't, or not all of the power flows through those circuit breakers. So I would, in the program, manually rearrange those lines, and I would run those same contingencies, same studies. How would the power flow look like? What would happen if these lines were to be taken out? What would happen if the plane struck that same tower? Would the I guess, would the problem be solved? Would new issues emerge? And I would present these to my team. And if everything looks, good and solid, I guess at the end of my internship, I had presented this study to the California Independent System Operator. I was kind of nervous, because those are the head honchos. So I would present it to this organization, and then they would either approve the solution of rearranging the lines, or they would disapprove, ask questions. That was kind of, I guess, the work life in total of my whole internship.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But you got the electricity running, so you did good.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Will.
All right. I'd say a typical day of mine would usually start off with the daily scrum because of what Northrop Grumman is doing, which they're basically transitioning to a collaborative framework called Scrum. And what that is just basically a way that the team will collaborate and work together. So for our specific group, which was a group of 8 interns, we were having a agile framework and scrum meetings. So we would have a daily meeting in the morning for about 15 minutes, talk about what tasks we had for the day. We would then basically go on, check our emails, do all the things we could possibly do, work on our projects, which was mostly just writing code for helping automating some software specifically for the company. Or let's see, what was another project? It would be building a battery housing compartment for a competitive team rover that the company had. What else? Mostly a lot of like collaborative and documentation and research we had to do, more specifically to help the older, the actually not, I wouldn't say really older, but just like the more stuck in their ways projects that weren't really ready to be transitioning to what the Scrum framework was. So from there, it was a lot of just team collaboration, a lot of research, a lot of programming, and then
a lot of learning on the job, right?
Exactly, yeah. And then writing everything down to basically pass on to the next people who are going to be working on it outside when we were done. And then after that, 30-minute lunch, go back to it, and then have a few meetings here and there, attend a few of the lectures that Northrop Grumman were offering, more specifically to learn about things around the company that you're not a part of. So because I was a part of the payload and ground systems teams, I was trying to learn more specifically about, the military side or other projects that are within payload and grounds and space systems. Mm-hmm. Besides that, it was just more documentation and writing some Confluence pages, trying to make everything nice and concise for anyone else to learn, and then responding to what the higher ups or the managers wanted us to be working on.
Wow. Okay, thank you. Christine?
So for me, a typical work day was me usually waking up around 7:30 in the morning. Right away, I kind of just got everything set up, took around maybe 10 minutes, connected to the work VPN. Mostly what I usually did, I just started working on the assigned project I was working on, which is usually STR, which is a software trouble request. And that software trouble request usually involved working on a radar system that the company has, and that's involved not locally, but somewhere within the Navy. But other than that, it was just trying to fix some software problems that they have noted, and adding more code in order to make, to add more usability for the project in general, just to keep it more updated. Mm-hmm. Other than that, it was just the typical, just work on the software, do a bunch of coding. If I had any questions, I could usually go to other people in the group. I did have a mentor, so I did a lot of communication with my mentor during my projects. And then if there wasn't anything to do, then there was an occasional training that we had to complete, because to be like, I guess, to keep on top of stuff, the L3 Harris has trainings, like to understand what kind of workplace they are, how to protect yourself, and basically how to be an effective member of the workplace. And all this was done from home because it was mostly a virtual internship because of the coronavirus. But other than that, there were occasional times when I did drive up to the office, which is located in Van Nuys, so about 60 miles from where I am. But other than that, it was mostly just work from home, work on some code, fix the trouble requests.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you. I think one of the things that's different is that, Sarah, I believe you actually had to go on site and it wasn't virtual for you.
Yeah. So my whole summer I had in-person internship. But what was interesting about that was for at least the first month, all my coworkers except for one worked from home. So like the company was really good about like keeping like the place sanitized and having us mask up and had COVID regulations. So I was staying safe the whole time going into the office. But pretty much a typical day for me would be getting to work at 7:30 in the morning, and that was like 25 miles from where I live. So fun drives in the morning and going home.
That's me going into Pomona normally.
Nice. So I would have to report to either the designer 3 or the engineer 2 of the team because they are the ones in charge of working or kind of like dividing up elements of the project up based off of what the supervisor kind of gives them. And from there, they start training me into how to complete the task because a lot of what I did was on Revit, which is something that none of us learned how in college. So from there, I actually had to learn a complete new software. And I also, not only did I have to learn how to use Revit, I had to learn how to use a lighting software to be able to do photometric calculations. And I also had to learn how to use CAD while I was there because we had to kind of clean up a very heavy design so that way we can kind of simplify what we run since it's a lot of elements since we work on commercial buildings which tend to be like high rises or hotels. So imagine all the many floors with all the many lightings and receptacles that go on with that, hopping from software to software. So we try to simplify as much as we can before we switch between softwares to convert back and forth. So a typical day is pretty much I get into the office, I report to either engineer 2 or designer 3 about which tasks I need to do. They would call me like through the company phone to kind of guide me remotely since we were at home how to accomplish my tasks and kind of like things to look out for throughout the whole process just because they've been working on these things for years already and they kind of know what I might be struggling with. They're always a phone call away or what we use was Jabber, so kind of like an instant messaging system. So it was like I could message them right away and then we would just screen share and kind of see what's going on from there. And I would just be working on several tasks throughout the day. Once I would be done, I just report to a different person each time because we would be working on 2 to 3 projects at a time. So whenever they need someone to kind of sometimes do the grunt work or either do actual like engineering calc work, sometimes I get to be able to work with that here and there. But other than that, at the end of the day, just drive back home, start again the next day. It's a different thing every day I have to work on. Occasionally there are team meetings where we would update the supervisor of what we've accomplished because we also have weekly deadlines that we have to meet because these projects that we work on have to be sent to project managers to be like spread to other companies and other the owner of the projects. Like there's a lot of communication involved with like what assignments we finish and what needs to be shared. So
Yeah,
that's
I think
my day.
I think one of the big things that you can see throughout like everyone's work life is that, you know, you have to be a team player. You have to be able to work with groups because you're all working collaboratively on a big project. Thank you. We'll be going on to the next question. What we're going to do here is I'm going to ask you guys if you guys can be a little bit more concise about things because we are running out of time. If people are available, we might extend it a little bit after, but I know some people have classes, but we'll try to finish this as soon as we can. But yeah. So challenges, were there any challenges that you faced while working? And if so, how did you overcome them?
So basically the biggest challenge I faced was always in the beginning because there was just mostly connectivity issues and just getting everything prepped in the beginning because as a new hire, it was really difficult to get the transition into the workplace because it was because you just had to get everything set up and you're just not used to the environment yet. So that was the biggest challenge and basically the only challenge I probably had experience there.
Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing like as time went, you just got better with it?
Yeah, it's just you get used to the little intricacies that kind of take a little longer to do.
Mm-hmm. Elijah?
Ooh, challenges? Oh boy, did I have some challenges.
Just give us like the top one or two.
Top one or two? Yeah, for sure. I guess when you're an intern, coming in like me, who hasn't taken any power classes or any familiarity with the power whatsoever, and being exposed to all of these, these people that have been here in the industry for years, there's some sort of gap and some like discrepancy in what they're trying to tell you and what you're trying to understand. So I guess trying to just I am like coming in and like really getting to know this company and learning is just really the hardest part. I mean, there's acronyms that have to be learned, and there's just a bunch of other stuff, but it's just a matter of in overcoming them, just talking, and you have to be comfortable with talking to your to your mentor, your manager, and not being afraid to ask questions because some of these answers, they're not just busy work. They're answers that matter in like everyday life. You're keeping the power on, like, I mean, these answers they can't be wrong. So it's always best to make sure to talk, to communicate, and just going out there and learning what you can, because that's what all this intern is just about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of acronyms that we have to learn as engineers.
Oh yeah.
Will?
I'd say the biggest challenge for me was mostly about learning Java. I came on not really knowing it or having very much familiarity with it, and basically having to write a full project in it and using APIs specifically for it was a big daunting task. But, like Elijah said, just asking questions, having a lot of people out there to be able to help guide you and have more knowledge than you do, and just being able to rely on others to help out, fix your problem.
Thank you. I think there's a lot of truth in those. And Sarah?
Mine was probably like learning the code that is required to the way we design our projects, just because I initially started out with having a hard time finding a lot of the way they structure their folder and sorting systems. So it was more of like throughout time, you kind of like develop an intuition of like, okay, from previous projects, it's like similar here and there. And also like communicating with people like virtually was kind of iffy because they also had connection issues from home.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting. But I mean, it worked out here and there because in the end, rather than constantly using calls, we would just use messaging. And that worked out pretty well.
Okay. Yeah. I think one of the things that a lot of people will learn about is Slack, which has kind of been introduced into the workforce. It's kind of like, if you've ever used Discord, it's similar to that, but more like geared towards professional orientations and stuff. Looking forward, I know some companies, if you intern with them, that you're more likely to get full-time positions afterwards. But there are others that are a little bit more different where, it doesn't always guarantee you. for Edison, how would you say that perspective looks like, Elijah?
Yeah, so Edison really loves to hire interns, so I've been told, and from my personal experience, I mean, they teach you everything that can be applied on this job and other electric utility companies. So it's a really great experience to have. If you express your wish to become, a full-time position, or to get a full-time position, I mean, they'll consider it, and they'll try and push you and teach you more. And, once you get that summer intern and then they convert you to a full-time, or a summer, or a year-round intern like I am right now, the chances of, getting into a full position at Edison, if there are open positions, are really extremely high. And if not, I mean, there'll always be other departments that you can easily transfer to, because of the knowledge and skill that you gained, just from your department. They can be transitioned easily elsewhere. So, yeah, very likely.
Christine.
So basically, it kind of depends on your performance as an intern. But if you do overall if you perform very well, and your manager evaluates that you've done a very good job, it's almost like a basic guarantee that they will extend your internship to be all year round, and basically probably get a full-time position right after graduating. So I'd say it's very highly likely for an intern to get a position right after graduation.
Sarah?
So for me, like, Rosenden actually advertises, even through their internship program that they have, that they do plan on hiring their interns. It's more of a preference of the intern side if they want to stay with the company. But so far, I was able to get my internship extended into the school year, and so far, my manager did say, like, we have our review in a couple of months to see whether or not I'll be getting a full-time offer after. So, but most likely they do advertise it a lot throughout Rosenden that they do hire their interns for a full-time position afterwards.
Oh, that's great to hear. And last, Will.
Yeah, for Northrop Grumman, I know they really, really enjoy hiring their interns. So basically, if you get an internship, it is very likely that you will be getting an offer. But I think about this summer, it was a little more competitive just because of COVID, and specifically like the less work that they're going to be having for the next year or so. But for regular time, they did make sure to let you guys know that, like, it is a very high likely chance you'd get an offer. And I did get an offer too. So I think as long as you work really hard during your internship, they'll notice that and they'll want to hire you.
Yeah, I think taking incentive and like showing that you really care for what you're doing, it means a lot to both like you in terms of learning and the company in terms of like, showing interest.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll go on to the last one. So for the people that stuck around, are there any tips and advice that you as an intern would give to either your past self or to, someone that's looking to internship right now? Maybe they're a transfer, they're a freshman, or they've just never had any experience at all. Christine?
So probably the best advice is just start applying right away. It basically doesn't matter if you have your coursework or experience yet. Like, you should just go ahead, take advantage of what these companies really have to offer you, because one of the things now these days is that you want to be competitive, and to be competitive, you kind of need that experience. So, just go out for it right away. I kind of regret not going right away my first year at Pomona, looking for an internship. So just don't wait. Don't say third year is the time, my junior year is the time. Just go for it.
Will?
I'd say something I'd make sure I knew when I was younger would probably also be like, make sure you're applying at all times. It doesn't really matter about that. And if you're not doing that, try to at least get a lot of stuff outside of school being done, like your own personal projects, because they seem really interested about that. And also be very active during school in collaborative projects, because companies like to see that you want to work with people.
Yeah, Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't have to be professional projects or big projects. It could be anything small, or just as long as you show interest, they really care about that. Elijah.
Yeah, I would like to emphasize both those points. Projects, they're good to do, and applying just right away. I guess the only thing I would add is just to be involved, in clubs and other projects, team projects, personal projects, and just be social. I know, us engineers are kind of, and this whole COVID thing is hard to be social, but, you never know who you're going to meet and, what connections that they might have. And, it all works out, just coming together. So that's all I would say to myself and for other potential people wanting to apply.
Yeah, for sure. That's why we're like, one of the things is like the mentor-mentee program we hope to introduce will hopefully help out in, like, meeting people within the department. And last but not least, Sarah.
So for me, my advice to my younger self would have been to not give up early and to actually apply anywhere and everywhere. Like, kind of do research on what you're interested in, but also, like, especially if you are younger and you're still kind of not sure what you want to focus on in engineering, and like, say ECE, like, you don't know yet. Going into internships, showing that you're taking initiative, you will learn a lot at your internship on what kind of, like, industry your preferences are, because some people start really early. They get to sample in multiple kinds of industries, and from there you gain a lot of experience and knowledge, because most companies, like, in my opinion, I feel like they're not too keen about, like, how technical skills you understand. They want to see that you are a driven person, and from there they'll train you into what their company does, as long as you show you're willing to put in the effort. You are, like, kind of like, you want your future to grow, kind of thing. So I personally, last year when I did apply for internships, I just went to any company that was power related that I would feel interested in learning more about. And from there, it's like I applied to a lot of places, and from there it's more of like, if they like me, they'll reach out to me for an interview, and I actually got several interviews. And yeah, just put yourself out there, and also get involved in clubs, because you get to then get, like, experience in projects if you sign up for it, meet people who will help you later on, build network and build bridges, get to know people. That's a really big thing, and it's great.
Definitely. This one I think is kind of general, and you may have talked about it, but I'll change it to, what are some of the things that you liked, to what is one of the things that you got the most out of from this internship? What did you learn from it, or like something that you hold valuable that you'll bring on to other jobs, or that that you still think about today, Sarah?
So for me, what I truly enjoyed about my internship would be the team that I was on and people I worked with, because normally, like, or at least for me, when I went in, I felt like, since I didn't know as much, I would kind of be a bother to be trained, or like, because especially with COVID, there's so much going on. Like, I wish I knew more, but the thing is, my team, they were very kind and very, like, patient with me when it came to training me into learning how to use Revit, how to use the illumination software that we did use, and even how to use CAD. I even was, like, personally trained by certain people on the team about, like, all, like, the fundamentals to what what we use in Revit, and also learning, like, their backgrounds and getting to know them as, like, people. It was really, really nice. And from there, it's like I got to know people, or like really know people within the team, and feel like that kind of nice group environment.
It's great to get to know everyone. You get to learn a lot from them, especially because like most of them have had years of experience, and like you said, don't be afraid to ask questions because you're there to learn, and they're there to help you grow as well. So don't ever be afraid to ask questions. I don't feel like if you ever ask anyone on the job, it's never going to be a bad thing. So, Will.
I think a lot of what I learned specifically, again, would be like, having the ability to really ask questions. I mean, I know we like sometimes do it during class, but like you don't really want to raise your hand and ask the question because you're like, oh, like, someone's going to think I'm kind of dumb, but not really. It's just you trying to learn. And that's something that I think I had to really like push into my head throughout all of it, because this was something I had never done and had no further information about it because it was a completely different subject from what I'd even studied from during school. So having the opportunity of people with a lot of knowledge to really help out and answer all the questions that I had was super helpful. I'd say another thing I really enjoyed was just, getting the opportunity to work with people from other schools and see how their like train of thought is when it comes to certain problems and tasks. And to see like, how different and how alike it was and how it affects what the overall or how it can affect the overall accomplishment of the task.
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, Christine had to step out, so it's just Sara and Will now. But I think those are all like the big things that I wanted to hit. I will leave it the ground open a little bit for the people that are still here. If you guys want to ask them a question, now's your chance. But I'm going to take this moment to thank everyone that came, thank everyone that's still here, and a big thank you to the panelists, Sara, Will, Christine, and Elijah. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it a lot, and I'm sure that everyone here appreciates it a lot as well.
Hi, Adrian. I had a question.
Yeah. Go
so
ahead.
For our membership dues, we have to pay that by October 2nd to be enrolled into this MentorMentee program?
Yes, that is correct.
And do we email the confirmation to you or
to confirm membership, you can follow our website. Hold on, one of the links is takes you to our website and how to get involved with the club. With that, you can enroll as a general member. And then from there, we have a membership form that you can send to us, and everything is organized nice and neatly. And then we'll review it there, and that's how we confirm that you're a member.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for coming. Okay, so Amy, I don't know if you guys can answer this, but she asked, if we don't have any prior experience, what could we put on our resume to stand out? I don't know if you guys have some insight on that.
So for me, what I learned is that, like, say if you don't have that, you can always put your related coursework and kind of elaborate on like put related coursework on there so that way they know what you've learned in your classes. If you had any part-time jobs too, like I used to work in the food industry. I used to work in the chemistry stockroom at school. I actually did a lot of food industry stuff before, but it kind of like you want to use stuff that you've learned from there too, and kind of say like what you gained out of it. Like you had teamwork because you had to work with a group of people to make food and produce, or kind of like, I guess, show like you had to do something there. You communicate with people to get stuff done and all that. You take soft skills and kind of like go with it from there. I guess.
No matter what kind of job that you have, I feel like there's always something to take away from it. As Sara said, if you work in the food industry, you get a lot of soft skills, working in groups, talking with customers, and all that kind of stuff. And even in the lab room, you're working with materials, you're learning how to organize things, and how to work around a schedule. There's always something that you can learn there. It might not be as like, in depth as like, if you work on a big project saying that like, I learned this, I did that. And that's not always what they're looking for. Sometimes they're just looking for you as a person and like how you can grow and how they can help you. Because they know that like right off the bat, we only really know the foundations, and from there they can really teach you and like kind of mold you into an engineer that you would like to become.
And on top of that, accolades look really nice on resumes. So if you've gotten rewards, scholarships, or if you've been on dean's or president's lists, that's something to flaunt because they like to see
you worked for it. You worked for it, man.
Ooh, actually, some other things I would probably put would be some projects we did from the labs. I mean, they're really kind of outstanding compared to what other schools do. So getting a little more information, and you have a lot of further in-depth knowledge of that specific lab. So you can really explain what you did, and it kind of showcases a lot of what our school is about.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the things that can like easily be overlooked is like you always never think about the labs because I feel like sometimes you're like just doing day to day, trying to get it over with. But yeah, the labs that you take here, they are effective. That you can use them as like experience in sorts because you did work with oscilloscopes, you worked with function generators, power supplies, and all that kind of stuff. And you're familiar with the equipment. It shows that you've learned something.
Yeah, and on top of that, you could put the programs and software that you've used in these labs, like knowing how to use MATLAB,
our workshops.
Yeah, so and attend our workshops our upcoming workshops because those are things you could also put on your resume.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And on top of that, like if you're a computer engineer, all the languages you've learned, that's also pretty crucial.
Even if you're not a computer engineer,
a little more than the hello worlds though.
Yes.
Even if you're not a computer engineer, I think it's still good to learn some languages. I know during the electrical engineer curriculum, you guys learn C++, and then after that, I don't believe you touch anything else. But learning a little bit of what the other side does, if you're purely hardware, learning a little bit of how the software works, it will help you in the long run because then you can really talk with like some of the software engineers that you're working with, and get the most out of everything. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I had. Thank you again so much, everyone, for coming. We have our link tree here. I also put it in the chat so you guys can go on it. So on there is all of the relevant information. We'll put like upcoming Zoom IDs there so that you can go straight to the meetings. We have our social media, so make sure to follow us there. We update weekly, almost daily, just to give you guys an update of what's coming up. One of the big things that we're really trying to incorporate this year is our Discord. We're trying to be more active there and have announcements whenever we have something coming up. We're also trying to, just have a place where people can communicate and talk and have fun. You'll see myself or Sara be on there every now and then just to, say hi, learn something about us, learn something about school, what you may need help with, especially if you're like an incoming or a transfer student. Again, as a last reminder, we will be opening our MentorMentee program tomorrow. You do have to be a paid dues member to be a part of it. So go on our link tree and sign up to become a member. There is a link to the organization and a form to submit here locally to us. But yeah, I think that's going to do about everything. For those of you watching on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe. It feels so weird doing this live, but yeah, we hope to see you guys on the next one.